Do complex legal issues hold you back? Let's get energized and bring clarity to your top legal questions. This is Law Talk with the Flock by Goosmann Law Firm.
Hello, I'm your host, Jeana Goosmann, a CEO, lawyer, author, and woman business owner, here to help navigate you through the law, your business, and life as a leader. For today's episode, I have with me a special guest, Ben Wiener. Ben is the president and CEO of Benaiah Corporation and chairman of the board for Benaiah Holdings, Inc. Today, we're going to talk about his business and crypto hedge funds. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, Gina. This is exciting. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
So excited to have you on, Ben. And I also want to point out to our listeners that Ben lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So all of this great stuff that we're talking about today, he's the source, and it's coming right out of Sioux Falls.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Love it. So as you said, my name is Ben Wiener. Live here in Sioux Falls with my wife. Have four young children as well. I'm the president and CEO of Benaiah Co, which is the brand that owns and operates companies in insurance and technology and the investment scene. And we're going to talk about Benaiah Capital today. It's a really exciting opportunity. So thanks for having me.
You bet. And I love it. For those of you that are watching and see our video, Ben has their company logo behind them, and it looks really sharp, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you. So I first got into cryptocurrency in 2016 when my financial advisor kind of led me into it. But it really wasn't until, I would say 18 months ago when I really started paying attention to it. And so what I found was, I had a number of different platforms and strategies that I was engaged in, and it took a lot of time and attention and technical skill to put together, what I thought was a really good diversified portfolio in that space. And so the more that I started to do that and talk to people about it, the more I realized that there was a market for people who wanted me to do that for them or somebody else to do that for them. Maybe they didn't have the time or the skill level or the expertise to do it. And so that sort of birthed Benaiah Capital, if you will. So I remember, speaking of Sioux Falls companies, I remember early on I was visiting with Eric McDonald and Josh DeWitt, who head up CoinLion, and a fantastic company and wonderful high caliber people. And I was just asking them, what would this look like to create an opportunity to allow people to, kind of dive into a diversified portfolio. And from there, it really took off. So Benaiah Capital is, I guess, if you will, a boutique investment firm focused exclusively on digital assets, emerging blockchain technology, and our goal is really to help investors in the Midwest diversify and gain exposure in this exciting space without needing to spend any time doing it or needing to have a knowledge of it. So that was kind of the launch of it.
So I know it's a crypto hedge fund, and can you explain that to our listeners?
Sure. So literally, a hedge fund is a limited partnership in which investors are going to pool their capital and let somebody with expertise in the industry manage that capital for them. So in the past, you've seen hedge funds in securities or real estate or other more traditional vehicles. And a cryptocurrency hedge fund is going to be that investment vehicle that's managed by somebody that's got expertise in the crypto industry. So there's a few funds on the East Coast. There's a few funds on the West Coast. But until now, there hasn't been anything like it in the Midwest. So pretty excited to bring that.
Well, we're super excited for you to bring that to our area and to the market. And Ben, what are some of the misconceptions that you find people have regarding cryptocurrency and the different investment opportunities?
Good question. I think a lot of people are scared of the unknown, and rightfully so, but they're also scared of what they read in the headlines. And so I think a popular misconception is that cryptocurrency is primarily used to fund criminal activity. Unfortunately, what you read in the headlines and what sells the newspaper are some of the negative articles. And so, with the lack of knowledge in the space, if that's what you're seeing, that's kind of a tendency of where your mind goes. So, the reason I say that that's a misconception is that as a percentage of the industry, I mean, far more criminal activity happens in fiat than in cryptocurrency, and to blame a technology for criminal activity would be like equating the car to robbers, like it helps them get away faster, or the internet, for example, to maybe immoral conduct, right? So anytime that you're going to have an incredible technology, you're going to have it be used for good and evil, if you will. So I think that's one. The second one that I hear of often is it here to stay, right? Or is Bitcoin going to zero? Um, my answer is no. And the reason that I say that is if you look at the adoption of technologies, right? Whether it would be the microwave or electricity or whatever it may be, as long as it takes to go from 0% adoption to 10% adoption, it takes the same amount of time to go from 10% to 90%. And
Wow.
that 10% is kind of like that make or break. Like it's here to stay and it's about to take off. And that's where we're at today. So, uh, we've seen billions of dollars of institutional investment into the crypto space. And it's here to stay, but we're still early enough in the space that I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. So, those are probably just a couple of misconceptions that I hear of fairly often.
That brings us to, I always think of cryptocurrency, and a lot of people I talk to are starting to get FOMO, or the fear of missing out, right? They think, oh my gosh, it's already too late for me. What would you say to those folks that are just now getting educated on cryptocurrency?
Oh, I mean that ties into risk. So I think with cryptocurrency, there carries a certain amount of risk. I think it's really important, especially with that fear of missing out, that you understand what you're getting into, why you're getting into it, that you have a good plan, that you know how it fits into your life and into your portfolio, and that you're able to manage that. But it is that fear of missing out too that's caused a significant amount of the volatility that you're seeing in the market too. So um, I think the best time to invest in cryptocurrency is yesterday, um, but with a well thought out and planned approach, and with any vehicle that has risk in it like cryptocurrency does. I mean, it's just that much more important that you don't just dive in head first, that you have a good plan and knowledge of what you're doing and why.
Do you help your potential investors navigate those waters, Ben?
Yeah, we do certainly. I mean, and we have we have two crypto hedge funds that we manage, and one of them is a blended portfolio. So I'm not an artist, but when I look at art, I'm like, I wish I had more artistic ability. Well, the closest thing I can come is this blended fund, which is beautiful. It is just, it's diversified and it has tax strategy and it has different allocations in it, and it's wonderful. So investing in that fund allows for us to manage those waters for them. Another fund that we have though is a significantly lower risk. Would be similar to like a money market account or CDs in the traditional arena. So significantly lower risk, and so it's a different space that I think over the next 10 years are going to have a lot more opportunities with the same amount of risk. But I think it's important to understand what your risk tolerance is and what your time horizon is. So, yeah, certainly we would do that like a traditional advisor would do.
So going back to just talking about the technology as a whole, why do we need another form of currency as a society, such as cryptocurrency?
Um, that's a good question. We could probably spend an hour on it. Um, and there's a lot of debate around it, but I think if we go back and we just look at the monetary system or the purpose of money in general and where we've come from and where we're going, hopefully we can uncover that a little bit. So, Bitcoin was really birthed out of a desire to have a purer form of money. And so if we go back in history, gold was an excellent foundation as a store of value because it was abundant enough to create coins and to be able to store it, but scarce enough to make it, have value. Um, so World War II ended. The United States had the greatest gold reserve. And one of the challenges of gold, of course, is, it's tough to melt it down, right, to buy a cup of coffee. So they created fiat, right? And fiat, the United States, the US dollar, was backed for the longest time on the United States gold reserves that we had. And after World War II, we had the most. And so the US dollar became uh, it became an authority, right, in money. Well, in 1971, um, we went off the gold standard, and that created the opportunity maybe for, well, I mean, so the centralization of that, right, created the opportunity for manipulation, right? And so, now you're dependent. When we went off the gold standard, we became dependent on the faith of the United States government, which is great until it's not, or if you don't have it. So any of these situations, I mean, obviously create opportunities for a better form, right? So as we look in our daily lives and just as a species, I mean, we're constantly trying to improve things, right? There's technologies in all areas. And so um, I don't know that we needed another form of money, but it was inevitable to try to find a better or more improved system. And because of some of the things that have happened in government and whatever else, we found ourselves in a situation where, in my opinion, a better system, or potentially a better system, has been birthed.
I think we're really living through this big change, and it reminds me a lot of. I love the musical Hamilton, and Alexander Hamilton is really known for creating the Treasury, along with a whole host of other things. But it seems to me that this is just a very historic time for us with our monetary system in the United States.
It is absolutely, and it may not impact. I mean, what Bitcoin represents to many is a form of freedom, right? And maybe not as bad in the United States, but there are other countries whose governments have manipulated their currency even greater, and so for their citizens to own something, the governments can take away the homes and this and that and the other thing, but to not be able to take that away is really a powerful thing, and a symbol of freedom in countries that otherwise haven't experienced that. So it is pretty powerful, and it'll be interesting to see what the United States does with it. Obviously, the monetary policy of the U.S. is incredible, but you know time will tell with how they respond to things.
So I got to sneak this in here just real quick. Can you, at a high level, explain to our listeners what is a digital wallet?
A digital wallet would be, just like a physical wallet that we keep our credit cards and our fiat currency in. A digital wallet is going to be a wallet that you keep your digital assets in. So it could be Bitcoin or Ethereum. And that online wallet or that digital wallet is what you use to store your digital assets that you have. And so with a digital wallet, you can, just like with fiat, right, you can keep those assets in a vault, right? That is not subject to the same risk exposure, or you can bring it out of the vault and have it be, used to be able to trade and exchange, which presents a greater risk. So a digital wallet is that in the digital arena. It's just what holds your digital assets.
So Ben, you're obviously a wealth of knowledge, and if somebody wants to work with you, what kind of people do you work with?
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, we work with individuals from all walks of life. So we've got business owners and farmers. I mean, anyone that wants to diversify into cryptocurrency but doesn't know how and maybe doesn't want to know how. We also work with financial advisors to enable them to help their clients. I feel like we're at a spot with that 1090 that I was talking about, that there's almost a fiduciary responsibility to bring this to the table when you're talking about someone's financial well-being. So however we can support financial advisors in that arena, we will. We also work with endowments and banks and larger institutions as well. So all sorts. Our heart is for the people of the Midwest, and obviously we're going to expand and reach people outside of that. But wanted to bring this opportunity, especially to those that are close to the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area.
And can anyone invest in the crypto hedge funds that Benaiah has?
Good question. So the answer is no. The SEC has guidelines and requirements on hedge funds. You do need to be an accredited investor. An accredited investor is somebody who has a higher net worth. There's any number of boxes that you could potentially check. Two of the most common are a net worth of $1 million or more, not including your primary residence. Another one is, you've made 200,000 each of the last couple of years, and you anticipate that into the future, or 300,000 if you're filing jointly. So there are limitations into who can invest in the hedge fund.
If people want to get in touch with you and so that they could move forward and figure out how you could work together, what's the best method to get in touch with you, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few different ways, and I haven't had the chance to brag on our team a little bit, so I'll talk about that first. Our hedge fund manager, Josh DeWitt. Josh was one of the founders of CoinLion, and if you don't know what CoinLion is, I suggest that you find out and get to know what they're doing, because they're changing the space too here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But Josh co-founded that, but he went to college and got his master's in portfolio management and securities analysis. And so the blend of having your master's in that with this skill in the blockchain arena, I feel like Josh was born to be a cryptocurrency hedge fund manager. So we're super excited about that. And then Chris Himaleski. Chris is the head of our investor relations. He's also chief of staff for Benaiah companies as a whole. Chris came from Southwest Minnesota State University, where he was athletic director. So his skills he's got a diverse amount of skills in management and in compliance and in team building and investor relations. So we're excited about them. So if you go online to answer your question, you can learn more at benaiahcapital.com. You can find us on LinkedIn as well. You'll have the opportunity to certainly request more information, or you can email any one of us, and we'd be happy to visit with you or your financial advisor or CPA or attorney.
And are you seeking more investors? Is that something that you would actually welcome people to do?
Yeah, we are. Part of I guess, the regulations around hedge funds is that we're limited to 100 investors in each fund before we need to create an additional fund. Our goal at Benaiah Capital would be someday that you would be able to find one of Benaiah's funds on a traditional Merrill Lynch, or I don't know if I can say that, but a more traditional platform, so that there's anybody, not just accredited investors, could invest in it. So we anticipate that we'll, fill up both funds and then start a third or a fourth. But as there's a need and a demand for it, we'll continue to manage people's money in the best way that we can.
Awesome. So you're looking to grow. And I think that's important for people to know, because I know it can be intimidating to someone to think, if they've never invested in a hedge fund before, if they're really interested in this and they want to reach out, do they want me? Do they want my money? And I think the answer is yes. But for people that are nervous about making that first call, and I'll advocate for women here too. A lot of times women aren't the ones that traditionally jump into these sorts of things. And I think you'd be very open to women investors too, and different diverse investors.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we're passionate about the opportunity. We're passionate about the industry, and we think that it really presents an opportunity for significant growth. And with our heart being for the people in the upper Midwest, our desire is for those individuals who are heavily invested into dirt, right, or land or real estate or whatever it might be, to provide those investors with the opportunity in this space, because we just don't want people to miss out. So yes, absolutely. And the education piece is so important to us to bring to other people. So this isn't, in fact, with our hedge funds, we can't take you on as an investor without a relationship. So that's what we would seek to have first and foremost, to give you a really good understanding, let you ask questions, and have the ability to understand what you're investing in long before we take on those checks.
Thank you, Ben, so much for being on the podcast today. I think you've done a great job of educating our listeners and exposed them to some new opportunities and things that are in the marketplace, and very excited. I think you're super entrepreneurial in a whole host of ways, and for you to bring cryptocurrency and the hedge fund to the Midwest is just outstanding. Thank you so much, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Jeana. Obviously, we're passionate about it, so appreciate you having us on.
Have a great day, everyone. Go make it worth it.
Thanks, Jeana.
Thanks for joining us for Law Talk with the Flock by Goosmann Law Firm. We hope you feel energized and ready to soar past your goals. Become a Flock fan and subscribe to our podcast for weekly episodes. Learn more at goosmannlaw.com.